everyone. How are you doing today? I'm doing great, thank you. I'm just going to pull up my slides, and I think, awesome, that works. All right, so I'm not going to use the microphone unless, can the people in the back hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I don't like microphones, so I'm just going to try to talk really loud. So hello, my name is Charice Putnam. I am the program coordinator at Interact, so I lead one of our volunteer programs. If anyone's interested in volunteering, come see us afterwards. We would love to have you. But I have also been working at Interact for a little over 2 years now, doing some of our education and prevention work. So today we are going to be talking about domestic violence and sexual assault. And I know and I want to recognize that these are really tough topics to talk about, to listen to. Some of the things that we're going to talk about might hit really close to home for a lot of you guys. And so I want to recognize that. And I want to make sure that you guys are taking care of you as well. If you feel like you need to get up and leave, come back, you know, whatever you got to do. If you want to talk to one of us afterwards about what we discussed, we will be around to do that as well. But I just want to plug that in there before we get started with the conversation, so then we can create a safe space for everyone. With that being said, I know that it's also sort of awkward to talk about, but I enjoy engagement and questions and feedback. So if you guys have any questions or anything you want to add to the conversation, please feel free to raise your hand so we can make this more of a discussion. So to begin, a little bit about Interact. So who in here has heard of Interact before coming here today? All right, a decent amount of you guys. Cool, cool. So Interact is located in downtown Raleigh near Cameron Village, and we are Wake County's domestic violence and sexual assault agency. So our mission is to save lives, rebuild lives, and secure safer futures. So to do that, we have a lot of different resources available for our community. We have a 24-hour crisis line, and we have all of that information, our numbers and everything, over on this side table if you guys want to take it for reference. Really great resource. We have an emergency domestic violence shelter for people who are fleeing violent relationships. We have walk-in counseling available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can come in, no appointment necessary, and talk to one of our counselors about what's going on. And then we have the Solace Center, which is a really, really awesome resource that we have. It's one of the only very few in the country, the only one in North Carolina. What the Solace Center is, it's a forensic exam center, so people who have been sexually assaulted can come in and get a forensic examination done right in the comfort of our office, our building, instead of going to the emergency room, as long as they don't have any substantial physical injuries. So that's a really great resource as well. And then we have youth education and prevention, and so that is what we're doing right now. We go out into the community, we talk to students in Wake County public schools, we go into colleges all over to talk about this, have these conversations, and spread awareness. Any questions about what we do? Yeah.
What's your hours for the Solace Center?
So the Solace Center is 24/7. So we have SANE nurses that are on call, and we also have sexual assault response advocate volunteers who can come as well. With that being said, it's 24 hours as long as we have somebody available. So, you know, staffing for 24 hours, 365 is sometimes difficult, but we try the best that we can. But we can always send, at the very least, we can send a sexual assault advocate to come and help if you maybe are at the emergency room and want that support. Yeah, of course. Great question. Any other questions? All right, so let's dive right into what is domestic violence. So when we're thinking about abuse and what that sort of looks like, we like to think of it as existing on a pyramid. So this is kind of the pyramid of abuse, and at the very bottom, we have emotional abuse. And then at the very top, we have physical abuse. Why do you guys think physical abuse would be at the very top? What do you think? Okay, so the least common. What are some other thoughts?
The most visible one is easiest to recognize.
Yeah, so the most visible, it's easiest to recognize, absolutely. Any other thoughts?
A lot of times it's easiest to hide as well.
It's easiest to hide. Yeah, it can be really easy to hide.
I would say like doing stuff like in relationships, how they do go I feel like when you try to evaluate other kind of
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys are all correct. So first, to get to the top of a pyramid, you have to start at the bottom, right? So physical abuse happens typically last in violent abusive relationships. It is maybe the more visible one because there's bruises. And so it does also happen least, I think you said, because there are all of these other things that happen first. That's not to say that there's some relationships that might start out as physically abusive. That can happen. But we kind of want to take a step back and think of, well, how do people get to the top of that pyramid? They have to start with this other stuff that isn't as easy to recognize and see what is going on. So, emotional abuse. What are some examples? What do you guys think? Some examples of emotional abuse.
Toying with people's feelings and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So toying with people's feelings. What else? What's some other examples? Yeah. Absolutely. A lot of blaming things. And I like that you said for things that they can't change. Maybe about themselves, about their situation. So making them feel very guilty. Yeah. So I have some other ones. So the silent treatment, withdrawing information or emotions, maybe not telling somebody if they're angry, not ever talking about what's making them angry, maybe giving them looks or gestures that's signifying that something's wrong, but never talking about that, leaving them kind of on edge. Possessiveness, so extreme jealousy, things like that. Again, looks. Gaslighting. Has anyone heard of gaslighting before?
Is it like when you put things like keep going? I don't know. I've heard multiple things.
Kind of. That's a piece of it. Anyone else? Yeah. Yes, exactly. So trying to make them believe something that didn't actually happen. So making that person question their own thoughts and their own reality. So an example of that, because that can sound kind of like far-fetched, but an example of that might be, let's say you're in an argument with your partner because they said something that really, really offended you, hurt your feelings, and you want to talk about it. So you're talking about it, and then all of a sudden something switches, and you find yourself apologizing. You're finding yourself feeling really guilty about everything that happened and questioning, well, maybe they didn't actually say that. And they're saying things like, you're just overreacting. I didn't mean it that way. You're always just trying to pick fights. And then you start to believe that. And you leave that argument thinking, well, crap, maybe I am the one who always is trying to start fights. And they're blaming you for that. And so your reality is now something totally different. And so that's an example of gaslighting. And then the last one I put on there is denial of abuse. So minimizing it, denying it, saying things like I just said in the gaslighting example. So we separate emotional and verbal abuse. Some people lump it together, but we like to separate it because emotional abuse is much more subtle. It's things that you might not even realize is happening until it sort of escalates or until somebody else points it out to you. Verbal abuse might be a little more obvious, but still coupled with emotional abuse, someone making you question your self-worth, your self-esteem. So some examples of verbal abuse: insults, threats, making judgmental comments, undermining you, maybe undermining you in front of your friends, in front of your family, their family. Arguments about very trivial things, so blowing up about something that should not be a huge fight. Excessive texting, embarrassing posts, sharing pictures, Snapchat. So when we talk about verbal abuse is not just the spoken word, but it's also the written word. So those are some examples. So that excessive texting, checking in on you, making you tell them where you're going at all times, maybe shaming you on Facebook or Instagram, sending threats via Snapchat. That can be very scary because it can go away. Using the location feature on like Snapchat to find you, that map feature, things like that. Any other examples that you guys can think of? No? All right, so the next one is sexual abuse, and I'm going to kind of breeze through this one because we're going to talk about sexual assault in the second half of this. So when you think of sexual abuse, a lot of people automatically think rape and sexual assault. And can rape and sexual assault happen within the context of a relationship? Yes. What about if you're married for like 50 years? Yes, absolutely. So other examples that may not be as obvious might be blocking the use of contraceptives, so not allowing you to use your preferred method, inappropriate jokes, unwanted texts or pictures, forcing you to send unwanted texts or pictures, any sort of forcing you to do anything you're not comfortable with. It could be anywhere from holding hands with that person in public, kissing them when you're not comfortable, and all the way up to forcing you to engage in sexual activity that you're not comfortable with or you don't want to do. Pressure, being unfaithful, so they expect you to be monogamous, but they can go out and be with whoever they want. Those are some examples. Any other that you guys can think of? No. All right, and then physical abuse. So physically harming you, harming your animals. It might be, so it's using your body to either cause harm or intimidation. So it could be blocking the exit. If you are in an argument and you want to leave, they don't allow you to leave. That could be an example. Driving erratically, so that could be forcing you to get in the car. They don't allow you to wear your seatbelt, but they drive erratically or drive extremely fast, make you fear for your safety. Throwing things, most of the time it's going to be your things. And ultimately, physical abuse can lead to death. And unfortunately, it does sometimes, all too often, lead to death. Any thoughts, questions, other examples? Okay, so with the pyramid of abuse, we like to say that it is built on a foundation, and it is built on a foundation of isolation. So why do you guys think we say that it's built on this foundation of isolation? What do you think? Yeah, if you are isolated, if you feel like you don't have anywhere to go, there's nobody to turn to get help leaving, absolutely. What else? Yeah, absolutely. So if you have been isolated, you feel like that's the only person that loves you. Maybe this person has been telling you from pretty early on in the relationship that you're lucky that you have me because who else is going to want to date you? You're lucky I love you so much. And these feelings, these thoughts are ingrained in you, so you might not feel like you have anyone else. Absolutely. You don't think that somebody's going to believe you, that anyone's going to believe you about what's happening. That's a really, really important thing to remember, because this person that's doing all of this, it's not this like green-eyed monster that's walking around and we're all like, oh yeah, you're clearly an abuser. That's not what it is. People who are abusive are often really, really charming. And in the beginning of the relationship, it was probably wonderful. This person was probably seemed like everything you could ever want. And to the outside, they might still be very, very charming and wonderful. And so people might question, well, there's no way that this is actually happening. I've known them for so long. I know that they would never do that. And we unfortunately get these messages all the time that there's no way. It's obvious when somebody is an abuser. But it isn't always. So people don't feel comfortable coming forward. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
I would like, so what you believe that once this happens, you're pretty much in a relationship by yourself. Like the other person is separated from the relationship to do these things.
Right.
So you're basically on an island alone.
Yeah, so you feel like there's not that mutual sort of relationship happening there, so you feel totally on your own. Absolutely. Yeah.
I guess the kind of like the isolation, like people say, like they get affected by any of this, they may say like, oh, I'm unwanted or I'm unloved. So the isolation, they kind of feel like they're unwanted or unloved.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are isolated, if you have maybe stopped talking to your friends, your family, there's no one around to tell you how awesome you actually are. The only messages that you're getting are the messages that this person is telling you. And if this person is someone you love and you're in a relationship with and you've built a life with, and that's all the messages that you're getting, and you're not getting all of this external love and acceptance, then you might not even realize that this is happening. And if you do, you might not feel worthy to go and find something better. Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Yeah.
Also, if your friends and family don't believe you, that there's a problem within your relationship, you know, that this person verbally abusive to you, like maybe you're not really silent because you would like a perfect couple outside of the house.
Yeah, absolutely. And if your family and friends don't believe you, then who are you going to turn to for help? Definitely. These are all really, really great points, so thank you guys for sharing that. And so it's built on this foundation for all of those reasons. And a lot of the times when we do these presentations, or if this is sort of the first conversation somebody is having about domestic violence, about abusive relationships, they often wonder, well, why would somebody even be in this relationship? Why would somebody stay in this relationship? And that's unfortunately sort of a natural thought process that we as a society have. But what are some, based off of everything we talked about, what are some of the reasons or the barriers for people who want to leave this type of relationship?
Like they have to financially able to the point where work ain't happen where like anybody can go with their great mental.
Absolutely. Yeah, if they leave, maybe this is their spouse, then how are they going to get a divorce? Where are they going to live? They have children. How are they going to support the children by themselves? Finance is a huge piece. Yeah. Absolutely. People who are maybe younger, or I would argue really any age, thinking that they're going to change, not being aware, not having these conversations that we're having today about what it is, so not being aware and just thinking, well, I can change them, it's going to get better, and everything will be fine later on. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. One of the most dangerous times for a person who is in an abusive relationship is when they are leaving. Their likelihood of being seriously injured or killed goes up significantly when they are leaving. Yeah. Is there another hand? Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe better without them.
Absolutely. That's a huge piece of it, for sure. Feeling like they don't deserve any better. They have very low self-esteem. Absolutely.
They think that it's their fault instead of the abuser's fault.
Yes, that's a huge piece of it. They think it's their fault because that's the message that they have been getting for a very, very long time, that what they are doing is causing what is happening. When in reality, that is not the case. No one ever deserves to be abused. It is never that victim's fault. The reason or the cause, so to speak, of domestic violence is two things and two things only. And that's one person wanting power and control over the other person. It's not about anger management issues. It's not about substance abuse. It's not that they have a past history of being abused. Those are all risk factors that can play into it, absolutely. But those are not excuses for why somebody is abusive.
Another thing they apologize for it, so if it's like a physical thing, they'll hit, their spouse or the person they're in a relationship with, and they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry, get them flowers, gifts, and then there'd be like a grace period, and then it comes back to, oh, something sets them off, and they're like, well, they'll change, they'll say sorry, and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So that cycle of abuse, and you sort of led me perfectly into where we wanted to go. And so sometimes you might see the cycle of abuse as the circular pattern, where it's the honeymoon stage, the tension stage, and the violence. And that's absolutely correct. I really like this graphic, though, because it really shows that sort of escalation of abuse. And so you see it can start in this honeymoon phase. In the very beginning, it's really wonderful because, like I said before, most relationships don't start off as really abusive. If I just walked up to you, and I've never met you in my whole entire life, and I walk up to you and I slap you across the face, and then I say, hey, want to go get some ice cream? What are you going to say to me? No, that was even more polite. No, thank you. No, you absolutely not. You just slapped me. I'm not going anywhere with you. It's the same in a relationship. If somebody right off the bat, you just met them, and they start abusing you, you have no connection to that person. You're very likely to leave because there's no sort of connection that you have. You didn't spend any time with, devoted to this person. But when you have spent a lot of time and energy and love with this person, and then it starts to escalate slowly, and then it moves back, something happens, and then it goes right back down into that honeymoon phase, and it's there for a while. And like you were saying, they apologize, they do nice things for you, and it's good for a while, and you hold on to that. And then it starts to climb again, and that tension starts to happen again. And then something happens, and again, it goes back down. But you can see after a while, the type of abuse, the escalation of abuse is increasing, but that honeymoon phase starts to go away. And all of a sudden, you're just in this, I don't know if you can see it right way in the back, but these two lines, that's the tension and eggshell. So you're walking on eggshell. There's constant tension in the household. You never know what's going to set this person off. And eventually, that's where you sort of live in this tension phase, that flight or fight response that you're always on. And then something might happen again. And so that's a really great explanation or visual, so to say, of why it might be really difficult to leave these types of relationships. Any thoughts or questions about this? Okay, so I want to go back a slide. So this is the relationship spectrum. And I like to put this up because a lot of times when we talk about abusive relationships, people might think like, oh man, this one thing happened in my relationship. Like, is this abusive? Am I abusive? We've gotten people come up to us after and say, I yelled at my partner for something that was like not worthwhile. Does that mean that I'm abusive? No, probably not. Abusive relationships are a pattern of behavior. So when we think about relationships, we think of them existing on a spectrum. And I know it's really, really small, so I apologize. But up at the very top, it says healthy relationships. And so some of those behaviors are respect, good communication, trust, honesty, and equality. And then in this middle piece, there's unhealthy behaviors. And so that might be breaks in communication, pressure, dishonesty, some struggles for control, inconsiderate behavior. Well, those are not healthy behaviors. In the most healthy of relationships, that might happen. And so your relationship might be healthy, but sometimes it might go into that unhealthy category. But this unhealthy category is very limited and is very small and can quickly turn into the abusive category, which under here it says accusations, blame shifting, isolation, pressure, manipulation. So that's just a graphic that I like to share to think about. Even super healthy relationships might have some of these unhealthy behaviors, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's abusive. When it's a pattern that's happening over and over again, that is when it turns into this abusive relationship. Any questions or thoughts on that? All right. So now I want to talk a little bit about sexual assault. And so first I want to give you some statistics of why this conversation is important. So the first one, every 98 seconds, an American is sexually assaulted. And so this is the statistic for both men and women in all genders can be sexually assaulted. So that's kind of one of those myths that only women are sexually assaulted, and likewise with domestic violence, that's a myth that only women can be victims of domestic violence, but it can happen to any person, and it can be perpetrated by any person. The next one, so this is for college-age women. So college-age women age 18 to 24 are 3 times more likely, and then women not in college, 18 to 24, are 4 times more likely. So it's a very high-risk time when someone is in college. Why do you think these are the statistics for this? Yeah, so they're dating, people are going to parties, things like date rape drugs, which I'll just ask this question. What's the #1 date rape drug? Who knows? Did you say roofies? Nope. It's a common thought. Nope. Alcohol. Alcohol is the #1 date rape drug. So a lot of people think that it is roofies or somebody has slipped a drug into your drink, when in reality, that can absolutely happen. But a lot of the times, just simply using alcohol, because somebody, and we'll talk about this a little later, you cannot consent if you are incapacitated due to alcohol. All right, so some statistics. So this is specifically for college students. 1 in 4 college women experience rape or attempted rape during their college career. 84% know their attacker. A lot of people think it's a stranger in the bushes. But that is a myth as well. Most of the time, it is somebody that the victim knows. So it could be their very best friend, their partner. It could be somebody that sits behind them in class that they've interacted with a handful of times. But most of the time, it's somebody that the victim knows. Only 5% ever report to the police, and 42% never tell anyone. All right, and then for male college students, so male college students age 18 to 24 are 5 times more likely than non-students age 18 to 24. And this statistic says about 3% of American men, 1 in 33, have experienced attempted or completed rape in their lifetime. 1 out of every 10 rape victims are male. How accurate do you guys think these statistics are? I see some head nods. What do we think?
I think it's actually pretty accurate. Just, I mean, it's not only a woman thing. I mean, men can get affected by it too.
Yeah, I think you're right that men can definitely be affected by it. What do you think? Okay, so you think there's more male victims than is reported here? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Yeah, I would agree that I personally would think that this is probably not super accurate only because it is heavily underreported by men, because our society still believes a lot of times that men cannot be victims of rape. Even some of our laws still technically say that men cannot be victims of rape the way that they are written. And so this is kind of a stigma that we have. So I would argue that the numbers are probably much higher than 1 in 33, but people are just not identifying that it's sexual assault or are not feeling comfortable coming forward about it. So what is sexual assault? Sexual assault can take many different forms, but one thing remains the same. It's never the victim's fault. So these are some of the examples of sexual assault, and that's the kind of definition of it. Sexual contact or behavior that occurs without the explicit consent of the victim. So it could be attempted rape, fondling or unwanted sexual touching, forcing a victim to perform sexual acts, or penetration of the victim's body, also known as rape. So when we think of sexual assault, it's sort of this umbrella term for all of these different behaviors that might occur. So I want to talk a little bit about the piece about force, because this is another misconception. A lot of times people think force is physical force. So somebody physically forced you to have sex with them or do something that you did not want to do. But force can refer to a lot of different things. So emotional coercion, psychological force or manipulation. So somebody begging you, manipulating you, saying things like, this is what people in college do, this is what people in relationships do, if you loved me, you would do this. Using threats, using past relationships, so saying, well, I know you did this with this person, so why are you not doing this with me? Using their social status, saying, well, I'm really, really popular, and if you sleep with me, then everyone's going to like you, but if you don't, I'm going to tell everyone, and they're all going to hate you. So using things like that. Using their power, their social power as well. Intimidation, and then use of alcohol or other drugs, which we talked a little bit about. So I want to talk about consent, because we as a society don't really talk about what consent is, and a lot of people don't really know what it means. So when I say consent, what does that mean to you guys? What's that? You say it's okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Can you say that again? Yeah, so an agreement to do something, definitely. Any other thoughts? So I have a video for you guys.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they go, oh my God, I would love a cup of tea, thank you. Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you can make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware that they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important bit, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you're entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say, no thank you, then don't make them tea. At all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea, don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes please, that's kind of you. And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind, and you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they are unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea, and they can't answer the question, do you want tea, because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea, and they said yes, but in the time it took you to boil the kettle or brew the tea and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down, make sure the unconscious person is safe, and this is the important part again, don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they are safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it, going, but you wanted tea last week, or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, but you wanted tea last night. If you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you are able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea.
All right. How many of you guys have seen that before? Okay, only a few of you. That's awesome. It was really popular like a couple years ago, so everyone's like, I'm already seeing this. But I love this video. So what are some like highlights that you guys got from the video? What are some key points? Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That piece of people can change their minds. Even if they're in the middle of drinking tea, they can say, not feeling this anymore, put it down, walk away. And that other person is under no obligation to make them continue drinking the tea or continue having sex with them. That person can walk away at any time they want. What are some other thoughts?
I guess it's kind of like saying you can't force somebody to do something they don't want to do. It's like, if they say no or if they don't want to do it, then just say, all right, no problem.
And I love that you made it so simple as you can't force someone to do something they don't want to do. It's such a simple concept. But when people hear consent, they get all weird, like, oh, does that mean now I have to say, do I have your permission to do this? No, that is not what consent looks like. It is very simple if you just remember that you cannot force someone to do something they don't want to do. So I love that, yeah. Absolutely, that's a really great point. If somebody is undecided about it, if they're not really sure, that is not your moment to then persuade them or make them think that they want to do that. Because is that active consent? No, that is not, because you've persuaded them to do it. It has to be a freely given yes. Any other thoughts from the video? So I pulled up Wake Tech's definition, and they have a pretty good definition of consent, so good job, Wake Tech. So from that definition, and if you are interested in more, there's a great like Title IX webpage on it. That's where I took this from. So consent is clear, knowing, and voluntary agreement and permission for an activity. It is active, not passive, so it's not somebody looking away saying, okay, I guess so. That's not active consent. silence cannot be interpreted as consent. It can be given by words or actions, but those words and actions have to be mutually understood and very, very clear, and shows a willingness to engage and a desire and a want to engage in this sexual activity. Consent to any one form of sexual activity does not imply consent to anything else, just like past sexual activity does not imply consent for future, even if it was just 5 minutes ago. Doesn't matter. Every time, every step of the way. And then, of course, one must be of legal age. And another piece of that is they cannot be incapacitated due to alcohol or other drugs. And this is a really tricky thing that people like to get hung up with. A lot of times when I'm presenting, people like to get hung up on that piece. So if I have 1 beer, does that mean that they can't consent? We will never define an experience for someone. If they feel that they were not assaulted, that is their experience. However, if somebody is incapacitated and they cannot freely give an enthusiastic yes and understand what they are saying and what they are agreeing to, then you do not have consent. There cannot be any doubt in your mind, because if there is a doubt in your mind, do you think it's active, enthusiastic consent? No, absolutely not. Did we have a question? Did you have a question? No, just stretching. Oh, yeah, sure thing. Go ahead. All right. So we hear no means no, yes means yes, which is a really great start, but that is not good enough. Consent must be clear, coherent, willing, and ongoing. So just saying yes, somebody could say yes in a very passive way, in a forced way, in a way they don't feel comfortable saying no, and just because they said yes, and if all those other things are happening, then that's not consent. So I like to use kind of this graphic to break it down. Any thoughts or questions? What are some ways that somebody can get consent? Asking, yeah. So what are some other ways, or like what are some ways that somebody might give consent? Either way. I know this is where it gets really awkward, but that's okay. What are some ways?
We actually lay it on the line, like, yes, I will listen to you, or we can do this together, whatever, like, just have it like, hey, this is a one-time thing, so don't expect anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So just being really clear and communicating what your wants and your needs are, absolutely. Any other thoughts? Maybe just checking in with your partner, making sure that they're still comfortable, saying, is this okay? Do you like this? Do you want me to stop? It doesn't have to be a mood killer, which everyone thinks that consent is a mood killer. It does not have to be a mood killer, because that other person is showing that they respect you. And nothing's more sexy than your partner respecting you. And so by showing that they respect you, they want your consent, they're clear, they're communicating to you, that is how you can both give and get consent. I know it gets awkward. I love it. I thrive on awkwardness, so it's fine. Any other thoughts on consent? All right. So I wanted to briefly touch on some myths about rape. And I know this is really, really small again for the folks in the back. But for those of you who can't see it, so it's a pie chart. And it says 100%, and it's filled in black. And on the side it says the victim's clothes, overconsumption of alcohol, flirtatious behavior, walking home alone, walking in dark streets, boisterous behavior, being sexually promiscuous, taking banned drugs, going to parties at frat houses, having multiple partners, or rapists. And the bottom one that says rapist is black, and that is all black. So that means the only cause of rape is rapist. It is never ever the victim's fault, no matter what you did, no matter what you were wearing, no matter where you went, whatever it is never ever your fault. So I just like to put that out there and make sure that that's like ingrained in your brains. Cool? Okay. All right, supporting others. So how to support somebody who discloses any type of abuse. This is really, really important, and it's really tough because if somebody comes to you, you want to be supportive, but not everyone knows how to be supportive. So the best thing you can do is first believe them. When they come to you and tell you this has happened, believe them. You might be the first and only person they ever tell, and if you don't believe them, do you think they're likely to tell anyone else? No, probably not. Listen and be supportive. Just be there for them. Don't be judgmental. Don't ask them why questions, because by asking why questions, that's implying that they did something wrong and they could have done something differently to prevent this from happening. Ask before you touch them. If they're a victim of sexual assault or extreme physical, emotional abuse, it might be a trigger to physically touch them. So you want to make sure you're being respectful of that. Encourage them to get medical and police assistance, but follow up to that, respect their decision on what action to take. If they decide that they don't want medical and police assistance, that is ultimately their decision. When somebody is a victim of abuse, all of their power, all of their control has been stripped away from them. And little things that you can do, like giving them the choice to decide what they want to do, is giving them that power back, is giving them that control of their lives back. And if you say things like, you need to do this, you need to do that, that again is taking that power away from them. Provide the survivor with resources to contact. So over on the side table, we have a bunch of different resources for you. So at the very least, I encourage you to take one of our little note cards that are over there. You can put it in your wallet or whatever. Keep it with you. It has all our crisis lines, has a lot of different community resources. So I really encourage you to do that. And keep in mind, everyone's reaction to trauma is different. So we expect that this person is going to come to us and just be completely devastated and not know what to do, crying, hysterical. That's not everyone's reaction to trauma. Some people might be totally casual about it and just like drop that in like casual conversation. Oh, yesterday this person raped me. And then like go on and you're like, whoa, what happened? They might be making jokes of it. There's any number of different responses, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. That doesn't mean that it didn't impact them in the same way as other survivors. Yeah.
Hey, do not ask why questions. I feel you should ask why, because they could be lying, so you want to get around to get more into in-depth investigation of what's going on.
Is it your job to investigate that?
Nah, I'm saying if she comes to you, he or she comes to you with a problem, you be there for the advice of the problem with them. I'm saying the question why happens somewhere, right?
So here would be my response. If somebody is coming to you with this, they're not asking you to determine the validity of what happened or go and, make a full police investigation and all that. They're coming to you for support. And if they're coming to you and telling you that, then that means that they trust you and that you are a very important person in their life, because to share something like this is not easy to share. And so you should always work under the assumption that they are not lying, because why would somebody lie about an extremely traumatic event that happened? There's no real benefits for that to come forward. We know that the majority, I think it's 99% or 98% of rapists never see a day in jail. It's under prosecuted. It usually does not go anywhere. So when somebody's coming to you with that, Your job isn't to decide if it's true or false. It's to be that support person, connect them to resources, and then if they ultimately decide to report, that's the police's job. That's the investigator's job. Yeah.
Typically, when we ask why questions, they're judgmental, so we try to stay away from why questions because it assumes, it makes the person seem like you're judging them already.
Yeah.
And so you can just say, well, tell me more about what happened. Share more. Instead of saying, why did you do this? So instead of just tell me more about what happened. So it kind of softens it so that people seem like you're judging them all the time.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point too, because it does feel like combative. Did you want to?
Also, it can be like the reward could be they can get depressed and they may not have friends to go talk to. They might not associate with anybody in school, outside of work, that type of problem. And that's why that question why. I don't understand you saying the judgmental part, but you want to stay with that truth in it. You want to see where they really coming from. So you can be my best friend for 10 years. But somewhere down the line you could tell a lie. Anyway, just to feel that comfort. You know what I'm saying? Get that characteristic, that character you're trying to be shown, that character you want to be shown, that isn't shown in other places. You see what I'm saying? That makes sense?
Yeah, I think that if somebody were to accuse like a friend that you've had for a very long time of something like this, it would be really hard to accept that because you don't want to accept that that person is capable of that. So I could definitely understand that. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just like, as far as the law, I was always asked why when they have to, because I'm one of those persons, and it made me feel off the bat like, okay, they don't believe me, so I never really wanted to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. Go ahead.
Sometimes the most common thing that we can do is tell their story and disclose it to a friend. That's gaining some of their power. By asking questions, you can also victimize this person by having them relive the events that led to the traumatic experience. So that's something that should be left to a professional, or if they're willing to tell you, they'll take the cue from them. They'll let you know. But asking questions is typically not something you want to do.
Absolutely. That's a really great point. And so I don't know if everyone heard, so I'm going to restate that and let me know if you want to add something onto that. But it can be very traumatizing, re-victimizing for somebody to retell their story over and over again and what they want to share with you. By allowing them to share that with you, you're allowing them to take back that power. And their story, you're absolutely right, their story is their power. By retelling that, when they so choose to tell that to whoever they choose, that is them getting their power back. And so by asking those questions, like you were saying, that can be very traumatizing for somebody. Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
We actually have mics on either side, so Sabrina and Francesca go on her walk so you can hear everybody.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Did you want to say, there was one up there? No, you're good? Okay. I don't know who was next.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm friends with this girl on Facebook. She's actually in Charlotte, so she's not close by. But she goes on Facebook and she says things like, oh, I'm unloved or I'm ugly or stuff like that. And I don't judge her or anything like that. I say things like, I know you're not ugly and I care about you, this, that, and the other thing. And I also say this. I say, if you need me for anything, just text me or message me. Is that a good way to support people since that she's kind of further away in the Raleigh area or Wake County area?
Absolutely. I think that's wonderful. That's all you can really do is let them know how valued they are as a person and what your feelings about them as a person are, and then opening it up. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. Because if somebody's going through this, they might not be ready to talk, But when they are ready, they'll know that you are there and you are a person, a non-judgmental person that they can go to and share their experience with. So I think that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts that you guys have about this? There were like a bunch of hands, but. Okay, so the next piece I want to talk about is reporting options. Wake Tech has university police, do they? I assume? Yeah, okay. So university police, do you guys have a counseling center? I could not find that online. Okay. You do have a counseling center? Wellness. Okay, gotcha. That's what it is. So if there's a counseling center, so the wellness center then on campus, Title IX and Interact. Important piece of it, note confidential versus non-confidential reporting on college campuses. So what that means is not that this person's going to share all of your detailed information if you come to them and disclose what's happening. But what it does mean is that there are some mandated reporters on campus who, if you come and disclose that you are sexually assaulted, under Title IX, they are required to tell somebody that you disclosed that. And so if you are not ready to go through the process of reporting, if you are not ready to share that out and kind of take that leap, then it's important to note who is confidential and who is non-confidential. So Wellness Center, is that a confidential resource? Okay. Wellness Center is a confidential resource. We are a confidential resource. University police, Title IX, are there residence halls on Wake Tech's campus? Okay. Those would be your non-confidential. And am I missing anything else on Wake Tech's campus with non-confidential? Professors are mandated reporters, so professors would be another one. So I just like to put that out there and make you guys aware of your reporting options and who you're telling specifically on college campuses. Any questions about that? Okay, so some other places. These are our crisis line numbers. So we have a sexual assault line, domestic violence line, and then the Solace Center. So for the Solace Center, if you are sexually assaulted, you can come to the Solace Center up to 5 days after the assault. And if you're within that 5-day window, that's when we can still collect evidence. If you come to the Solace Center, that doesn't mean that you have to report. If you want to get a forensic kit done, which I know that maybe some of you are familiar, maybe not, it's often called a rape kit. If you want to get a rape kit done, we don't require you to report. You can get it done without that option. So that's just a little plug. Some other resources, the North Carolina Coalition Against Sexual Assault, the National Sexual Assault Hotline, and then this is Title IX. I could not find the Wellness Center online, so I apologize for that. But the Wellness Center would be another one. So, yes. Yeah.
You said that someone goes to his house and has a party.
Yes.
And I've always heard that if you shower, the evidence goes away.
So if you shower, the amount of evidence will decrease, but that does not mean that there won't be any evidence. So we often have people that come in who have showered multiple times, they've washed their clothes, all of that. And you can still come in and get the kit done, and there could still be evidence. And so we definitely don't deter against that. But you know, obviously it's going to be less if you have showered, and then the longer you kind of wait for that too. Yeah. So great question. Did you have another? That's a great question. 16 is the minimum. 16 to 18, you need parental consent. But for our services, our walk-in services are available to anyone, any age, so you don't necessarily need parental consent to come and use our services. Yeah. Did you have another question?
Yeah. Well, why would someone get a rape kit if they're
Great question. So why would somebody get a rape kit if they don't want to press charges? They might not be sure if they want to yet. So they might not be in a place where they feel comfortable, but maybe they want that rape kit just in case in the future they decide that they ultimately want to press charges. Because the state is required to hold that rape kit for a number of years, and this legislation is actually like just changing, so I'm not current on that, so I apologize. But they are required to hold that for a while. Yeah.
I was wondering, like, you say like for people who are like between 16 and 18 able to use parental consent, what if they personally want to go but their parents won't let them go? Is there any way for them to get the help they want even though their parents won't let them go?
That's a really great question. And my answer would be, and I would say that I'm like 95% sure on this answer, that we would likely tell them to go to the emergency room because I believe at the emergency room there is not an age limit. So that's specifically for the Solace Center. So under our regulations, so under VAWA and all that, that's what our regulation is. So that's probably what we would do, is tell them to go to an emergency room. And then we could send a sexual assault advocate to help them out. Yeah, so we'll still support them through that. But yeah, great question. Talk a little louder.
Okay. Yes. So what if it's actually the parents that is?
Also a great question. Yeah, so if it's a parent, first we would be mandated to make a CPS report. We also, Wake County has, Raleigh I should say, has an organization called Safe Child, and Safe Child specifically deals with child sexual abuse. So we would refer them likely to Safe Child in that case. Yeah.
How often do you all like go to those schools or elementary schools or high schools, just in case it is a parent or, you know, a family member that they're not, like they're their guardian and they're not able to, you know, the guardians in this place I can get this checked out and they won't do it. So how often do you all go out into the community and, you know, let them know about these resources? So just in case the situation happens, they're able to take the bus or they're able to write theirs.
That is a great question. Last year, our Youth Education Services team saw 10,000 Wake County students. And we are in grades 3 through 12. And so we go into as many classrooms as we possibly can. And we do talk about these things. And we do have, a lot of times it's usually like the parents that come in and say, my child came home and said, Mommy, Daddy, I know where you can go for help. I heard about this place at school. It's called Interact. And they'll come in and say, you know, that's the reason why I'm here. Or we have students that identify with the stories that we tell them, because we tell a story about a little girl and her brother who is in a violent household. We tell this story and they're like, oh, that's like, that happened in my household. Or I went to a shelter just like Star did. So we get some disclosures that way as well. So yeah, our reach in the schools, we have a really, really wonderful relationship with Wake County schools. So we're really blessed in our county to have that relationship. So great. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. No, it's super low. Sorry.
As long as I can. In your long time of, whatever you do. Oh, this is this one. Is that better? You just get closer. Whoops.
There you go.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. You said that mental illness is not a factor in relationship abuse or domestic violence. At what point does I'm in the nursing industry and we find older partners, some of
living with a husband who's constantly abusive, verbal and physical, for a number of years. What triggers that?
So what triggers like somebody who, gotcha, right. So when I say that mental illness isn't, not necessarily that it isn't a factor, it's not an excuse, I guess would be a better phrasing, yeah. So it's not an excuse for somebody to be abusive. So a lot of times people blame it on, say, like, I have anger management issues, I have this mental illness, I have substance abuse issues. That is why I'm abusive to you. And so that's not a valid excuse. Does that kind of make sense? So I think that you're absolutely right that mental illness, all of those things definitely play a factor in it and influence it and can make it worse. But when we kind of take a step back and think about what are the reasons, what are the things that are actually going on, and that's when we say that power and control. Because regardless of what sort of other things are happening in that person's life, it's still a means of taking power and control away from that victim. Does that answer your question? Yeah, thank you for bringing that up though. I appreciate it. Yeah.
One of the advices is domestic violence with an alarming situation, and it affects like what they like physically, they what advice do you give?
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's a really great question. So what about when you're out of this situation? What now? And you're absolutely right that it affects your day-to-day living. It can affect your mental health. People often have PTSD from it. People have triggers that they don't even realize until it's happening and they're having an anxiety attack. It can affect every part of their life. So my advice would be to seek mental health assistance. That's not the word I'm looking for, I'm sorry. But to seek a professional, that's what I was going to say. Did you want to jump in on that? Oh, okay, perfect.
There was, yeah, but it was kind of very similar in that you help victims who are no longer in the abusive relationship,
Yes.
but healing from the violence.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question was, do you offer group sessions for victims?
Wonderful questions, all of them. So to answer both of your questions, we do help if somebody has been out of the relationship. Doesn't matter how long, anyone can utilize our services. You can come in for walk-in counseling. I will say that we are crisis counselors. A lot of times what survivors need is ongoing therapy. So seeking a professional, and that's what we can help with. We can absolutely help connect you to those professionals who can help you with therapy and with your mental health. And then, but yeah, so we have survivors come in and call our crisis lines. Especially recently, we've had a lot of people who 30 years ago, they were assaulted. And they're just now coming forward and calling us for help. And so we definitely help with that. As far as groups go, we do have group counseling or group therapy. So we have a domestic violence support group. We have both an English and a Spanish support group. So we do have Spanish counselors, and we do have a partner agency that collectively they speak like 20-something different languages. It's insane. But anyways, we can help with that language access as well. We have the sexual assault group, and all of that. We also provide child care, which is a support group for their children as well. Somebody's coming in. Yeah. And then another group we have is our peace group, which is for survivors of domestic violence who have a criminal charge because they fought back. And their partner, their abusive partner, either pressed charges, or when the responding police came, the person that had the marks was the abuser. And so if somebody has those charges, we have groups and we partner with the courts to help with those, help kind of reduce those charges if you're compliant in our peace group. So we have that as well. Any other questions? Another resource I want to tell you guys about that I didn't mention in the beginning, we also have e-filing. So if somebody wants to file for a domestic violence protective order, they can come into our office. We can help them fill out that paperwork, and they can see the clerk and the judge right in our office to file for that emergency ex parte, which is sort of an emergency relief restraining order. Sometimes it's referred to as until that hearing. But they can come into our office and do all that right then and there instead of going to the courthouse, which can be kind of scary. But then their 10-day hearing, they have to go. But any other questions? All right, well, thank you guys so much. And if you have any questions you want to come ask me, I'll be up here.